and all the ships at sea. I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Joyce Stevens. And we have, as you can see, we have a special guest with us today. I want to introduce him to you all. This is a personal friend of mine, one of my former bosses. And you know how you have people that you used to work with that you don't mess with no more? Then you have folks that you would literally invite to a cookout at your house. This is Joe Doyle, one of my favorite managers from when I used to work in corporate. I don't know if he wants to put the name of any companies out there. But Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Joy and Tom. I'm thrilled to be invited. This is my first actual streaming webcast, podcast type thingy. So I've listened to 1,000 of them over, through COVID, but in my first participation.
Now you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
And we welcome you. We have our Steelies in the chat as always, our Sharpies, and Anthony Turner once again coming in first on YouTube and then flipping to Facebook. So I'll just say, if you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, you'll always be on target for when we start a show. And that is something that's super duper useful on the YouTube platform. But we love everybody who comes to watch us from either platform. It's a part of what makes Steel Sharpens Steel the show that it is. And so
I have to tell you, you're going to have to get up early to beat Anthony Turner into this room. He comes in while we're still running the promos. Like if you notice, he popped up hello before the intro was done, spooling up. But I have to say, Samuel Levon, welcome back. Nice
welcome back.
Here last week. Looking forward to seeing you go toe to toe with Anthony for this first, because y'all were literally 32 seconds apart.
Yeah, that's impressive and good on you. Well done. So we have a lot that has taken place since the last show. I will just say, just to get it out of the way, Deadpool is excellent.
Yes.
That's kind of a spoiler alert, but it's not really a spoiler alert.
If you haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you should see it. But above and beyond all of that, let's get right into it, because we pulled so many assets and clips this week just because everything is going on. And that's right. Oh, see, look, Sam. So if you don't try to compete for the no prize, you have to go on ahead and pop something in there.
Look, Anthony Turner has knocked other people off the throne before that have come for him. So we shall see how it goes, but we love the engagement. We love everybody being here. As you've noticed, we've moved up a little bit in time. We're starting at 7:35 Eastern as opposed to 8:30 because there's a lot going on right now. We're trying to make sure we're staying up with the election cycle, and things tend to start at 8. So we're trying to get ahead of that a little bit. And we want Chuck Hobbs, who was here last week, we want him to come back. Chuck does a little better, 7:30.
A little more early. That's kind of helping. Now, to kick things off, I give a hat tip to the HuffPost because they provided this excellent headline. It is a play on the GOP's far too often repeated refrain that they are the party of Lincoln. But given the collapse of J.D. Vance and given Trump's increasingly obvious mental decline, they are saying they're the party of shrinking, as in their electorate is shrinking because people are actually stepping away from Donald Trump. Now, this is something that we saw last week when in Florida, they had a 500 golf cart rally for Kamala Harris. That's not something that Donald Trump wants to see. Florida went to the Democrats in Barack Obama's first term in 2008, his first election. We lost it after that. But to have Florida back in play would be killer. If we take Florida, if Kamala Harris takes Florida, then he does not have a path. Florida has too many electoral votes, and it would be extra shameful since that is his current home state, although he has much more stuff brewing for him in the Mar-a-Lago documents case. Eileen Cannon is likely to be removed after the appeal goes through. The 11th Circuit is not feeling her right now. So Florida is just the beginning of his problems. And if it also folds into electoral problems, that's definitely going to be even more challenging. So with an electorate shrinking, with his popularity on decline, with Kamala Harris pulling up into parity or exceeding him, especially in the battleground state polling, it is not a good week for
Right.
Joy?
Actually, I'm gonna turn it over to Joe. You look like you had some things you wanted to add to this. Because I brought you on for your perspective. You got a lot of friends in Florida, and you have friends on both sides of the party line. So, what are you hearing around?
So I spent a lot of time down there. I've got a lot of country club Republican friends, as you can imagine, being in the suburbs. Two things, stats that I love. They're sad, but since 2016, 20 million boomers have died.
Wow.
Some of that's just actuarial tables. Some of it, a lot of it's COVID. Disproportionate amount of Republicans died. Some of it's opioids. I mean, there's a sad story of the actuarial tables reverting for the first time, and 40 million people since 2016, Gen Zs, have entered the voting age.
Wow.
Well, that's a huge swing. And in Florida, because I was going to bring this up, you've got abortion and legalized marijuana on the ballot. And abortion is just moving it from 6 weeks, which is basically banning it, to 15 weeks, which I think even a lot of Republicans will be like, I think it should be legal, but I'll take 15 over 6. You got to be realistic about this.
Right.
So I am calling this right now. Kamala's going to take Florida.
Okay.
We're going to
hot take coming out the gate. Love that, Joe.
This is my wild prediction. He has no idea what's coming. You can feel the energy in Atlanta. Trust me.
Yeah, there's not for nothing. DeSantis got dealt another significant blow in his Stop Woke Act this week, which was found to be unconstitutional because basically they said the quiet part out loud. If you wanted to proselytize people, as long as you wanted to proselytize things along the same lines that the government of Florida, the current government of Florida, wanted to do, you were fine. But if you were an employer and as a private employer wanted to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, you were banned from doing that. And so the court said, this is a clear, unambiguous violation of First Amendment protections. And so you can do what you want as long as you're towing the GOP party line. But if you want to do something else, if you're a professor who wants to have an informed conversation about race, if you are a teacher who wants to talk about the history of this country in your high school class, if you are an employer who wants to do what you want to do to increase and improve your work environment, banned. But on the other
you can't
side,
even say Black Friday anymore in Florida.
Right. I mean, it was so he got that blow, and it just brought into focus, Joe, exactly what you were talking about with abortion being on the ballot, and the real energy of trying to move those timeframes back to what Dobbs actually provided for protection. So, I mean, pre-Dobbs. So it's not even just a matter. People are literally fighting for their own bodies in Florida. And to your point, the voters who did pass during COVID, who were there for that last election, but are not there now, these can be swings. There were only 11,000 votes between them in Georgia. And, go ahead.
Speaking of, there's just to build on what's being said in the comments as well as what Joe is saying. One, I had not heard that take on the actuarial numbers on like the deaths of the boomers and then the doubling, because that's a three-way shift. You lost 20 million and you gained 40 million that potentially are not going to be affiliated or aligned with the Republican ideas. That's a huge shift. And I do remember, forgive me because I can't remember the name of the school that had the shooting that galvanized so many teenagers.
Parkland Douglas, wasn't it?
What was it?
Parkland.
Yeah, yes, thank you. After the Parkland shooting, you had a lot of kids, people accusing them of being actors, people accusing them of telling lies. They've lost friends in front of their face at a young age, and all you can say is fake news. That galvanized a lot of kids, a lot of young folks that are now 23, 24 in Florida. So they're part of that number, Thank you, Kim. We're fighting for our lives down there in Florida, And I had another point. I don't know what it was, so we'll move on.
Well, yeah, I think it's. Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say that the party is shrinking. I firmly believe that. How many votes is he getting? They're loud. His cult is loud.
Yeah.
But how is he growing?
Yeah. I think we can move on to our next topic, which is dealing with the issue at hand, which is why is his electorate shrinking? Beyond actuary, what else is going on in the news that is causing him to shrink? And so Joy titled this segment, Trump Shooting Himself in the Foot.
Right.
And I want to kick off this segment by talking about something that occurred on the Facebooks about a person saying that the NABJ interview, and we are getting to that, Samuel, don't distress, we are getting to it, that his ear looked completely undamaged. And Ronnie Jackson, his name is Jackson, not Johnson, Trump. Ronnie Jackson said that the ear did not require stitches. Now, there was a ballistics test done that basically showed that if a real whole bullet had actually hit him, then that ear would likely be almost
shredded,
destroyed, because it's a thin piece of cartilage. And if a whole bullet had actually hit it, it would have torn a hole through it, and you'd have to be reconstructing some stuff. But what wouldn't require that, because we've all had paper cuts, but if a thin shard of glass nicked your ear, just enough to give you a little blood, but not enough to open up anything, and so it almost instantly closed up just from platelets, then you wouldn't need anything. You wouldn't actually have anything on your ear, which means
they didn't even put Bactine on that ear.
That's what I'm saying. No mercurochrome, nothing. So what you're looking at is that was performative theater. That baby maxi pad he had during the RNC was completely unnecessary.
And then all the people with the thing.
It's not a cult. We're not in a cult.
We're not in the cult, but we're going to wear maxi pads on our face, but we're not in the cult.
The smallest cotton cell phone ever taped to their ear. So that is a part of what is happening with him, because when he was no longer fighting Biden, it was like he went off his meds. He's rage tweeting. He is slurring his speech. And all of a sudden, when you don't have Biden as a counterpoint, because Biden looking like he's swimming through molasses makes Trump look positively chipper. But when you don't have a Biden, when you have Kamala Harris running upstairs and lifting her arms and shaking and dancing and smiling, what is so bad, by the way, about smiling? This whole thing of them trying to get her for laughing. She has a positive outlook on the country. Is that a horrible thing? It used to be a thing to actually sell. Proud. Go ahead, Joy. Get into it.
Jump in here real quick. There is a history of this, specifically when it comes to people of color enjoying themselves in this country. People, and this honestly is on this. This is irrespective of party. Now talking about people who are in power, regardless of their political affiliation, sometimes view anyone that they deem beneath them as not working hard enough if they take a moment to relax, if they have a little fun. We used to see it in corporate America. You leave at 5:01. Must be nice. You're going home early. I work from 8 to 5. It is 5:02. I'm wasting time talking to you right now. But the phrase barrel of laughs, let me tell you where that comes from. Barrel of laughs comes from a tradition or a habit that a lot of either formerly enslaved or right before slavery was done with, or people during Jim Crow, et cetera, late 1800s. If you were caught laughing, there was a very good possibility that you would be whipped, beaten, drugged in the street, et cetera. If you were still a slave, that was it. You were done. And so they would lean into a barrel like they were looking for something so they could, snicker and laugh, et cetera. And so a barrel full of laughs is where that phrase comes from. Same thing with Black people taking off running when they laugh. We've adapted that over time. It's just kind of a thing that we do. We're going to get up and go, but it comes from, I got to run because I can't hold this laugh and I got to get far enough away from whoever in the power structure hears me, so they won't do anything to me. And so them and this idea of, oh, she's laughing, she's not serious, she's not qualified because how dare she laugh? Let people have a good time. Let them have a positive outlook on life. And just because she's smiling don't mean she won't get in that ass when it comes to September. Yes, Joe.
You're going to hear a new racist word for the next 3 months: cackling. Not laughing, you're cackling. And I've heard that from a lot of bigots in my day. That's the word, cackling. Every time you hear that, make a mental note.
Well, not for nothing, Paul Laurence Dunbar, in his famous poem, We Wear the Mask, it speaks to yet another aspect of what Joy was alluding to in terms of the necessary code switching or the hiding of one's true self in the presence of those that might have power to harm you. And so sometimes that it's the same sort of thing, I imagine, and Joy, you can speak to it more acutely than I can, that you hear about women who smile in the face of a person who is physically threatening them because they hope to disarm the negative energy that person, because they present kind of a helpless figure because they're smiling.
It is.
And hopefully that'll help diffuse the situation.
It's a physical manifestation of trying to alert something that seems like a predator that you are submitting. It's the feminine, the human version of exposing your belly. I'm not a threat. Hi. They even tell you smile when you walk in a room because it makes other people feel more comfortable. I'm not here for your comfort. And so most of us come in the room like, I want to put this back up that Anthony mentioned because I skipped over this. Like all these people putting maxi pads on their face, but were opposed to masking back in the day, which shows you it wasn't about comfort because there's no way you're comfortable with this thing next to your face, but
to your ear.
Yeah, and it stayed that way all night. But you know what? If you wore a mask, maybe 20 million of you would not have died. I'm just putting numbers together.
Sorry.
Rest in Kleenex. So
that was more of a pun than you know.
It was specifically intentional. So Joy used the term shooting himself in the foot, which leads me to this segue, still in this segment. While we were talking about the shooting, and last week we covered the assassination forces that were so badly photoshopped that they had some of the artwork actually photoshopped over the soul, which is not possible. So you've got his little photoshopped hand and arm showing up there, and you've also got this stuff on the soul. Well, now he has done something different. So we had the assassination ones. Now, I will give him credit for doing a good job on the Photoshop coloring this time. As Joy noted, this isn't even gold. This is really kind of orange.
Yeah, like him.
And I don't know if that's supposed to be related to the Bitcoin, although as you may be able to read if you're not looking at this on your phone, Trump is now the crypto president. So this is supposed to be going after the crypto bros. But
what are those?
What are those? So being the Photoshop artist that I am, I can just say the evidence of the pure chicanery of this is ridiculous because the Bitcoin logos aren't even mapped the same way on the shoes, and they look just extra raggedy. These are the ones that I presume he's rolling out for the Black community. So these are the crypto forces to try to pull in the brothers. This is just literally a color wash.
I know what this is. I know how they did this. They took a $sign and then they took a B and put it over the $sign. That's why you got those rounded edges on the two legs at the beginning, at the top and the bottom. That's what they did. They did that in PowerPoint, bro.
Well, I mean, the way that they put those orange discs, and they are clearly orange on the Black forces. Let's be clear. Super duper orange. And as I look at it, oh no, I guess it's the same font. It's just, that's Trajan bold, by the way, just in case you're keeping score. And the other way, they did the Black ones first. And the reason I can tell is that when they did the color swap, the crypto, they didn't even retype crypto president in a new font. They just actually tried to mask over the white. So it's just extra tragic. But the thing that Kamala Harris put out is this. She didn't put it out. A person who is a Kamala fan put it out. She's stepping on those Cheetos in her old classic AI Converse. So
Wait, are they really? Wait, go
Hold
back.
on, we about to look. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yo.
Wow.
They are both right. That is wild.
Wow. That is extra crazy.
Right, Samuel? Who's gonna buy
Who's
these? We're
wearing
not
these?
these.
The last show he put out, I remember what is it? The Daily Show was interviewing people. They're like, no, nobody's wearing these, bro. You're not getting beat up. These them are taking these shoes. Right.
And I went to the website, so you don't have to. They show that the assassination ones are sold out.
Of course they are.
Supposedly.
Because when you only make 200, you got 200 suckers out there that'll buy them.
Well, yeah. And that's really kind of where we are in terms of the campaign. We're at this phase where you've got these folks who legit don't know how to feel about his clear problems, because you used to be, oh, Sleepy Joe, blah, blah, blah. Well, there is no Sleepy Joe as a foil. Mm-hmm. And so now you're just looking at him. And even the Fox commentators are having trouble. He had a comment that he made. He was speaking at a Christian thing, and it's not the first time he had said it, incidentally, but it was the biggest, most highly covered part, where he said, just vote for me, Christians. You won't have to vote again. We'll have it so fixed. It'll be so fixed and cleaned up. You'll never have to vote again. Now, the word fixed, he didn't say rigged, but he said fixed. In the context of elections, rigged and fixed are interchangeable. Mm-hmm. When you fix an election, you fix a race, you have it fixed so that it doesn't matter. And even Rachel Maddow said he's really signaling that we don't need your votes because we've got a way to win without your votes. And that is one of the scariest things that, and he tried to tell Laura Ingraham, that, well, they don't vote. The religious don't vote, which is, first of all, that's a lie. They've been one of the most solidly, reliably GOP blocks for decades. They don't vote, so I just tell them they have to vote, but then they won't have to vote again because everything's going to be so perfect. Mm-hmm. He's telling you, if he gets in office, he's not leaving unless it's on a stretcher. He's literally telling you, my vision is Putin. My vision is Kim Jong-un. He
said that in his first term, in his only term. He said that when he was president, that he really liked how they were doing it. We should do that here. That seems like a good idea. Never have to get out. He'd been on this. It's not new.
No.
It's just, as you mentioned earlier, he's saying the quiet part louder, because he's always said the quiet part out loud. It's one of the reasons that he was such a joke when we first saw him enter the political arena. It was like nobody thought he'd be taken seriously as a candidate, because look at all the offensive things that he said and did. Some of it recorded, some of it in real time. And we discovered the ever-present disgusting underbelly of the United States in 2016.
Right
we realized, wow, there's too many people that think he's cool.
It doesn't have to be a majority either.
No.
That's like, so if you study history, which obviously people that still support him do not understand it. I never understood Hitler's dominance when I was growing up. How'd he do it? You realize, we're watching it. He's got 30 to 50 million cult members who care so much that they're like, yeah, I want him to be a dictator and I'll help him.
Right. That's the scary part, is everybody thinks they're going to be a general in Hell's army.
Yes. They think they're going to have a part in it and their guy's going to be king of the world. And they're in.
Yeah, it's not gonna okay, so
that was Jesse Walters.
That was Jesse Waters. And I haven't seen the whole clip. Supposedly at the end of that rant, everybody was kind of calling him on his stuff. And so he kind of chuckled, and it was supposed to be a thing. The problem with Jesse Waters is that he so unironically says everything that he says that you don't really have a frame of context of what's supposed to be sarcasm and what is not. And surprisingly, that wasn't even the weirdest thing that came out of the Trump ticket this week, because that is the new buzzword. They have woke, we have weird. And when I tell you that weird is the name that has caught on with Vance, and to me, it reminded me of one of my favorite films. I am a huge aficionado of Little Shop of Horrors. It's one of my all-time favorite films, one of my all-time favorite musicals, and one of my favorite scenes starring the actually late, great John Candy is this one right here.
Oh, you got me! I feel so very weird.
And this is kind of how Vance is leaning into all of these things that he is being. It started out with the cat lady comment. Then it turned.
That was pulled from a while back, but then he doubled down on it recently. When
doubled down on it with Megyn Kelly's interview. Then a malicious, totally, probably untrue thing about him interacting intimately with couches came out. And that was a day or two until the AP had to issue a retraction saying, no, JD Vance did not have sex with the couch, which is, I'm sure, the exact headline that any campaign would want to have about its undertaking.
Where is your election headed when you have to have a headline that says, no, he did not have sex with a couch? We would like to retract any statements to that effect. What are we doing? What has happened?
But what he did do was research women being violated by dolphins. He did actually Google that. And that is on his screen grabs. And when he was giving a speech, Usha, his wife, Usha Vance, who is president of the Melania Trump Disengagement from My Husband fan club.
Wait, I got to read. When Dave Chappelle said F your couch, it was funny. When JD Vance says F your couch, it's a threat.
Wow.
It might be your best one yet, bro.
but the thing about, get this though, he's talking about Usha, and people are wondering why Usha isn't, like Jill Biden, right? Jill Biden's everywhere with Joe, and she's always hugging him and speaking on his behalf. Usha is silent. And so he said, yeah, I know you guys probably want Usha to come up here, but I think if I did that, I'd have to sleep on the couch.
Rich.
JD, like, am I hearing Pornhub music in the background when you say that? What are you doing? Like, how is that? You couldn't even say sofa? You couldn't say guest bedroom? You went straight to couch. Leaning
Apparently,
in.
that's what we're trying to refute.
The 40 million young kids coming into the voting age. How do you think, the way we look at it, try and be at 19, 20, 21 and seeing this stuff. It's weird. It's
the way that things are super weird. And the way that there's so much more is acceptable in today's younger society. It is, if we heard that in like 1985, what is that? Just get out of that. But here you'd be like, did he though? Because maybe it's possible.
And I appreciate you leaving Chan's comment on there, because this is going to lead me to my first song break of the show. You've made it too tantalizing for me, Chan. When I get that feeling, I need sectional healing. Sectional healing, baby, is good for me. And you get that ottoman in there, and now it's a menage a trois. I mean, it's a lot going on, JD. Figure it out.
I don't have the clip, and I'm not going to put it up, but that takes me back to Family Guy. And actually, Family Guy was ripping on an actual video of a bunch of teenage boys trying to show how manly they were. And they all took turns like just violating this ottoman. And they redid that on Family Guy for one episode. It was the son, it was the alien, and a couple, and the couple of the
American Dad.
American Dad. Am I saying Family Guy? American Dad is what had happened. Yes. The one with the alien, because it's all the same guy, right? But
it is.
I'm gonna find that video and I'm gonna send it to you, Tom, so we can reimagine that.
Oh, clearly. We can directly image map JD Vance's face onto the alien or whomever, because my gosh, I think the biggest thing for me about the selection of Vance was that it really was a calculated, cynical play when they thought they were going against Biden.
100%.
And The fact that his team spent less time vetting this guy than you would spend in a Starbucks drive-through trying to decide if you wanted a double decaffeinated half calf with a twist of lemon is a problem. Do you not understand? This is the standard bearer for your party. And who he chose was a person who said that Trump was America's Hitler, who said he was uniquely unqualified to hold the position, who said he was a sexual predator. This is your guy. You wouldn't take Nikki Haley because Nikki Haley said you just weren't suited for office. This guy called you Hitler. He called you an opiate that is harming the interests of the white working class. And there are clips. It's not just an article. Your video.
A 5-minute Google search would have proven this to them. But that also begs the question, did they know that and they didn't have anybody else that Trump hadn't already either pissed off or decided never that person? Because, he's petty. He would never have picked anybody in recent memory. Because, again, if we're talking cognitive function, he might not remember what Vance said about him so long ago.
So I know that there are plenty of people who thought it was a problem. Go ahead, Joe.
He said 1,000 terrible things yesterday in Chicago. But the one thing he said is kind of true is, yeah, you pick the VP. It's a big thing at the RNC, but it's not really the race. And he's kind of right. Like, there's enough on Trump and Project 2025 and Kamala where he's probably right. Like, we're going to make fun of JD all summer. It's not a needle flicker.
Well, probably not. I guess the one thing that turned out to be true in George W.'s campaign is that Cheney was seen as like a really solid guy. And Pence was chosen to counterbalance Trump's insanity because he's super straight-laced. He was, he had a media background. I can't imagine what sort of ratings he got because the guy is...
let's be real. Joe picked Kamala because they are, from a DEI standpoint, polar opposites. You have an Asian white man and a young up-and-coming Black woman.
So aging, not Asian, by the way, just because I heard Asian when you said
aging. Thank you for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is true that you try to balance the ticket, but the problem is that the polling, even in JD Vance's Ohio and the surrounding Rust Belt states that are supposedly be, his leg up and anchoring some of those flippable states, some of those swing states. His rating, his net negativity rating is 10 points higher in his region than it is over the rest of the country.
Unforced error.
Unforced error supremely. And I almost wish he had taken Ted Cruz, because if he had taken Ted Cruz, then at least we would have had Ted Cruz running for vice president, which would have opened up the race for Colin Allred a bit. But that's a neck and neck race. I don't think Ted Cruz would have brought anything to the ticket either, because last name is Cruz. He's born in Canada, and he didn't defend his wife either. So,
question. Now that you brought up Colin Allred, Joe, am I wrong? Did I mishear? Did you say you know him?
Yeah, I know who he is. I'm not friends with him.
Oh,
but yeah, he's in the feed. He's a guy that, hey, I'm not as far off as everybody thinks I am.
Right.
They're 41% each at the moment, which is up double digits numbers. When he first started, he was like the outside underdog, and he's gone into being a real contender. And that may be why they didn't pick Cruz. They weren't going to pick him anyway, but they need him to hold Texas if he can. But I don't know that he can. To your point, Joe, there's a lot. We forget that Gen Z is the biggest generation since the boomers, and that is flipping states literally right as we speak.
So does Texas have anything on their ballot like Florida does?
I would have to talk to a couple of my friends that are still there. I don't know if there's anything majorly controversial on the ballot. I don't think they have any abortion things on the ballot this election. I think they had theirs already, unfortunately. But there is one thing that the Democrats have going for them, and that is what Samuel is talking about is federal student loans, getting a borrower's defense application. Because I've had people ask me, how do you do it? Here you go. do a borrower's defense application and get your federal loans discharged. He said he just got his discharge last week, so they still doing it. Make sure you get your money and help you get out of debt. That is one of the things that I think will go down as a major part of Biden's accomplishments. No one has been able to do that or even touched it before his tenure.
Right. I think to your point, Joe, it does not look like there's going to be a pot initiative on the ballot in November in Texas. But there is a reason that Kamala Harris actually went to Texas and was received very warmly there. Interestingly enough, Houston, which is not a border city, I don't know why they were up in arms about her being the border czar, but whatever. Some GOP operative put out a thing that Kamala Harris is not welcome in Houston. Okay, girl. I mean, I guess, but Houston is about one of two super like moderate / liberal cities in
Houston.
Texas.
I'm talking about my hometown now. Houston is currently the most ethnically diverse city in the United States, beating out LA and New York per capita, naturally. Right. But they've been a sanctuary city. They've been a progressive city. They've been a extremely integrated, and not on the surface. I'm talking houses next to each other, integrated society. As long as I've been born, like I went to elementary school and it was extremely diverse. We had everything from white kids to Cambodian immigrants in my elementary school. And that wasn't a special school. We never noticed racial disparity or injustice because we was all in it. And this is the Gen X folks coming up. Now, before that, my father actually helped integrate Houston along with Reverend Lawson, God rest his soul. We lost him recently, and a few other people from Texas Southern. They pulled a fast one on the white folks in Houston that wanted to fight. They were just sitting somewhere in a diner, and the white folks came in like, you can't sit here. And they're like, we integrated like 2 days ago. Where was you? And they believed them and went home.
God.
Love it. So yeah, Houston has always been a real one when it comes to being progressive in a state that has been very much red, but it's expanding. Austin is very much purple right now. San Antonio is red, and then Dallas, even though Dallas has some things I don't necessarily like, they're leaning blue as well. But saying that she wasn't welcome, what we're getting to here, people, we're going to talk about that National Association of Black Journalists thing in a moment. But I want to say some people were giving Kamala Harris's camp a lot of flack about it, including Trump and his people saying that she didn't even have the courtesy to be here and blah, blah, blah. And she should have done that. I'm going to tell you where she was, what she was getting ready for. We lost a major statesperson in Sheila Jackson Lee. Here's a picture of her. Sheila Jackson Lee has been in Texas politics most of my life. Like I want to say she came on the scene in the 80s and I was like 6, 7, 8 years. She has been a name in Houston for decades and we lost her, and Kamala Harris went to do her eulogy. And so there's a reason. It happened at 11 o'clock today. So there's a reason that she wasn't there. And it wasn't like she just said, oh, I'll just zoom it in. She tried to work with them and it didn't work out. But for them to try to use it against her, especially when she's doing something that all of Houston appreciated, you airing yourself out, you shooting yourself in the foot. You could have just stayed quiet if you didn't know why she wasn't there, but instead you maligned her when she was doing something for the city of Houston.
And not only for the city of Houston, but to put some context, that's also her soror.
True.
They are members of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And as the most high profile member of Alpha Kappa Alpha in the country right now, it was a very natural fit. Now, some people, especially on the Five or Fox and Friends, Brian Kilmeade, might think that her just going out to support a colored sorority sister is not something that merits her attention. But this was a lion of the House of Representatives and faithfully served her constituents for many, many, many years. And her tragic loss is something that we should all honor and celebrate the history of her success in her world, because she was an absolutely incredible woman. And so the vice president went to honor her, as Joe Biden did as well. Let's be clear. Joe Biden was there the day before.
The Clintons were there.
He gave space for Kamala to have her moment. And, that's what you do when someone who you have a connection with passes. You don't make jokes as Donald Trump did when the widow of that man who jumped in front of a bullet to save his family, he said that the wife told him that all she wanted was her husband back. Isn't that nice? I don't know if basically in the aftermath of those comments, he basically said, eventually I'd want to move on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the guy who's left his first 2 wives. And so you're making light of this man's sacrifice and comparing it to like, oh, well, it's time to upgrade to a newer model.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what empathy is. That's what sociopathy is, but that's not empathy. And his lack of empathy is something that is absolutely staggering and is clearly being made more and more apparent as time goes on. And it's only getting worse because he is unraveling. He's literally unraveling.
Speaking of unraveling, it's the same thing. We still talk about him shooting himself in the foot. We're getting into it by popular demand. Let's talk about, oh my goodness, let's talk about the National Association of Black Journalists.
Here it is.
Interview.
So I'm going to throw up this picture. Yeah.
Otherwise known as what never to say in a room full of Black people.
Listen, I will say this. When I was a student, I was a member of NABJ because my degree is in broadcast journalism. And I did not remain a member just because I didn't actually go into the journalistic field. But this woman, Rachel Scott, let me just say, ma'am, you did the thing that needed to be done. A lot of people at NABJ were upset. They were in their feelings about the fact that he was even extended the invitation. She contextualized things for about 10 seconds by saying that it is a tradition for NABJ to invite politicians from either party, from both parties, to come to speak to them at their convention. And then, sir, why you said those things about Black people? It was just, it was off to the races. And immediately he was so disrespectful in a way that he only is with women, especially women of color. That intersection is like a red flag to him, and he is just a bull that is going to go tramping through the arena. It is absolutely crazy. I knew when people were like, "Oh, how he died," I was like, Operation Just Let Him Speak is working beautifully. That was the whole point. I knew he was not going to be able to contain himself, especially being challenged by 3 Black women. And Rachel Scott did not hold back. She started off with a tough, biting, accurate, quoting him question. And his first response is, well, I've never been spoken to in such a nasty tone. And the audience is like, wait, what? Like, this is what
he did to April Ryan and all the other journalists for years. You're stupid, you're ugly, you're fake news, whatever. I'm not going to answer your question. Bro, you in a room full of journalists right now. Not only that, as I've said before on this show, Black women are about 85% smoke. You don't want this smoke with us. Because I mentioned this to a friend of mine earlier. I was like, if I ask you a question, so what were you doing yesterday? I already know the answer. You know, when you come home late, your mom's like, so where you been? She tracked you. She know where you been. We're not gonna. She asked those questions because she knew how it was gonna go. I would gather, and I'm speculating because I don't know her at all, but I would suspect that when she realized they really doing this, they about to bring this dude here. Okay, let's get it. And she hit him with perfectly rational questions, like you said, quoting him. And he's like, what is D&I? Can you define it? Because he couldn't. And he couldn't imagine that she had a definition. And she's like, define diversity, equity, inclusion. He goes, define it. I just did. Define it. Yeah, these are the real DEI hires right here, right? But
I'm stealing that.
Hat tip to the listener Pearl. Thank you.
It's all yours, Joe. I'll send it to you. But she defined it, and he kept saying, define it. I just told you what it says. I've defined it. And then she said, I've defined it. Would you answer the question? And then he's like, you're nasty, you're mean, you're evil. Then he gets into this rant about Kamala Harris not being Black, saying I didn't know she was Black. bruh, the hell are you talking about? She was Indian. Go ahead, Joe.
So once this is a white guy telling a room full of black people that a black person wasn't black.
Yes.
Like that was, so we were cringing a little bit during the first debate, like watching Joe age.
Mm-hmm.
All my conservative friends on Facebook were cringing this week. They know he's getting coached to have simple messaging, and he just ignores them. He can't not be an asshole. He can't not do it. He's incapable.
We knew he would. And I know that they did this because they are trying to be fair and balanced and invite everyone that wants to come speak to the Black journalists, the NABJ. He showed up. Somebody, I want to say one of his former campaign people, somebody from his White House said, whoever let him do this interview should be fired.
They don't let him.
You're fired.
He's coached up, and he just ignores it. He ignores it.
Well, to your point, Chan, he asked her.
Was her definition.
After she said it, which was an accurate definition, after she said it 7 times, he still wouldn't cop to it. He just ignored it because he wanted to say that DEI is just a way for me to say the N-word. That's what he wanted to say. And the thing that is interesting.
We have all that. We want the confession. I know you did it. I want the confession.
Okay, wait, Mark. I have to ask Mark Stepney. Mark, are you finally married now? Are you guys married, or do you still have that again? Do you have your confessional coming in the near future? I think it's you let me know about that. Wishing all the best to you and your lovely bride. What he came back with was not only inane, because as Rachel Scott said, "Yay, congratulations!"
Is that her? Is the bride in the picture? Okay.
Oh yeah, she is. I see her now.
Mm-hmm.
What we got was Rachel saying, I mean, she went to an historically Black college, and he steamrolled over it, and he says, yeah, she was Indian, and now all of a sudden she's turned Black.
Right, she's a Black person.
Someone should look into that.
Yeah.
I was white, and then all of a sudden I became an orange person. Let's look into the oranges. The oranges. He was trying to say origins of the Mueller investigation. He kept saying oranges. Somebody should look into why.
Stop.
Yep, there you go. Somebody should look into why your tanning person needs to be fired. Like you couldn't have chose something a little more George Hamilton-esque, like
a deep brown. Oh wait, no.
No. You need, even the Goldfinger body paint would be better than this that you've got going on, my man. You look freakish.
The thing is, he can get a spray tan that looks more natural. He just doesn't.
No.
And I don't know why he doesn't.
I thought the NABJ was 50 times more damaging than anything JD Vance did or said.
To Black people especially, because he has had, hey Jermaine, he has actually had a segment of the Black male population that was leaning into voting for him. And somebody was asking me about that today, and to me it has a lot to do with when he was going up against Biden. You have a strong man, a person who projects strength, even if he's an intellectual dimwit, and you had a person who looked like he was suffering and kind of wilting away. And so Black men, I think, responded to the machismo and to the chauvinism, and he cheats, and he's that dude. He says what he means, and da 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 da. There's a certain segment of masculinity that responds to that. And so it was easy to.
And it's race agnostic. Yeah.
Right. Maybe they might go for that. It's not something that makes sense for me, but I certainly understand how that would be something that perhaps might have attracted them. But you can't attack 3 sisters on a stage. And I'm including Harris Faulkner just because he happens to be a woman.
But
black.
Even when she tried to soft pitch him a question, he was already angry, and everybody got some of that, you know.
And he forgot because we all look alike, so he didn't even know that Harris was supposed to be friendly. Welcome to the show, Jermaine.
Hi guys, how's everybody?
We are well. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Jermaine Taylor. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I followed you guys online. Nice to meet you in person.
Yay.
So you came in right during the juiciest bit.
What'd you say, Tom?
I said you came in during the juiciest bit, Jermaine, because we're talking about the National Association of Black Journalists and that complete. Go ahead. You're champing at the bit. Go ahead.
Well, I have some backstory, and this is on record and verified. Do you remember the bite that Rachel Scott had when she came out the gate?
Yes.
That was carryover from backstage prior to. They were in negotiations with the whole fact-checking, the political thing. And he was doing his best not to let that happen. That was the reason for the 30-minute delay. It wasn't quite 30 minutes, about 20 minutes. But that was the reason for that. He was balking against that. And they were like, no, we can't let this information go out like this. We have to be able to push back when you're giving out false information. So his camp and their camp were all doing the negotiations back then. Obviously, she didn't get everything she wanted. She went straight on stage, upset. And that was the disposition that she had. That's why you didn't get, hi, how you doing, yada, yada, yada. Because that probably was already taken care of before then. So this whole big lie is 30 minutes late because the equipment wasn't working. No, the equipment had been working prior to, because mind you, he wasn't the first one on the menu that morning.
Correct.
So it was all a big ruse on his part. You see how the man just pretty much navigates the story? It came out so fast. They didn't even have a chance to even push back on that, you know. So it cut into the hour that he was supposed to have allocated, but that sort of chopped into it. So that hard out that he had, I guess about 35 minutes into the interview, that was already baked in because, you know, there was time before that.
He had to move on to the next thing.
It was a mess. It was an unorchestrated mess.
Well, and it just so happened that he was yanked off stage in the middle of a particularly tough question.
Yeah.
Because Harris Faulkner was about to ask about Project 2025. And one imagines that she was going to give him an opportunity to distance himself, because as far as Trump is concerned, he, despite the fact that almost every staff person that he's ever who maintains an affiliation with him is now working for the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, he was claiming he didn't know nothing about it. And Harris was going to give him a chance to distance. And Rachel said, we've got to leave it there. I'm hearing from the campaign that he's got to go. And they hustled him off like he was in that field in Pennsylvania.
Tom, I have a question for you. I wanted to even text you this. I said, I'll just wait to the show. Do you feel like they should have brought Project 2025 a little bit earlier in the discourse? Because I felt like it was really important and it should have been way earlier than when they were going to introduce it.
I don't feel, well, now having the context of that they had a 20-minute battle backstage, I think it played out about as well as it could have, because Project 2025 is a known thing now. The very fact that Heritage Foundation people are stepping down, the head of the foundation is stepping down, and they are now officially saying that the Trump campaign has put out a statement saying people claiming that Project 2025 is part of the Trump campaign are liars, and nothing in Project 2025 will be implemented in our administration. That's how far they are pushing back against it. Now, that, of course, is a lie.
Yeah.
So I don't know that audience, which was already predisposed to believe Project 2025 and be concerned about it, especially since these are working journalists, most of all in that room, I don't know that was particularly necessary. And, you know, to the extent that what we did get from him was like a stream of consciousness sound bites that can be cut into an infinite number of campaign ads. Yeah. I think it's you know, it would have been nice to hear him, but he just would have been lying. I don't know anything about it. The 2025, everything that I've read about it, it seems like it's horrible to me. Up until page 837, I couldn't believe what they were saying. Now, he doesn't read enough to get a box of Cheerios.
He doesn't read the instructions on the toy in his Happy Meal.
You know? Not at all. That's
But
why he keeps getting them plastic bags stuck in his throat. But
Shannon has a point here that they probably did think, even though they knew he had a hard stop, they thought you don't start with that, you ease into it. But then he took so long, just circumlocuting the first few questions that you didn't really get a chance to ask anything else, because he just wanted to say, you're mean, you're evil, And as Jermaine, as Anthony is saying, as far as he's going to say he was unaware anyway. Right. If he had brought up 2025, he's going to be like, we're not doing that, and he would have been done with it.
Right. Yeah.
It's just interesting. There's a coda on the issue of Kamala Harris, quote unquote, hiding her blackness or choosing her South Asian heritage or whatever. And this little quip came out, which I thought was particularly apropos.
Ooh.
Burn unit. Call the burn unit on Nimrata.
Either way, Nick is over here now. Why am I in this? Like,
but how I got caught up in this? And also this very helpful Venn diagram, courtesy of the Midas Touch Network. Indian mother, vacant father, Kamala Harris. Rapist, fraudster, Donald Trump. These are the Venn diagrams for you to consider and remember. And one of the things I like you, Joe, I went to high school, well, not like you. I, like you, have friends on both sides of the aisles, and I'm the only Black person in a particular chat. Most of them are basically progressives, but they have friends who are definitely conservative. And we were talking about these statements, and one of the gentlemen in the chat, he's a lawyer, he said his conservative friends were absolutely repulsed by his conduct. In that
he blew it. He shot himself in the foot way worse than picking JD Vance.
Yeah.
And people, the thing that people don't completely appreciate is that especially country club Republicans, they don't like being aligned with stupid.
100%.
They don't like being embarrassed. They don't like it if you spill white wine on a white rug, much less having something that stupid being said. Mm-hmm. And now, if you did have an inclination to have a Trump sign on your yard, that Trump sign is coming up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think you were about to say something, Joe.
I agree. I felt that was 50 times worse than picking JD Vance. The whole couch stuff and dolphin stuff is going to blow away in the wind, but this will not.
Look at where we are.
In Detroit, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Phoenix, LA. These polls are going to stick with the Black vote and the white vote who just for every poll by. Mm-hmm. He can't help himself. He's got no compass. He's got no integrity. He is a unhinged.
The shock value, Joe. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I don't think you were shocked. I'm sure you weren't shocked. I wasn't shocked. So we've heard those comments all of our lives. And that's always the first line of defense. Anytime a Black person is achieving greatness or is in the process of achieving greatness, and especially if they're biracial, they discount their Blackness automatically. They did it with Barack Obama. They did it with, I forgot another person that ascended to greatness with that was biracial, had, African blood and another blood in them. They always take that away from us. Even my obviously Black self. Growing up, anytime I would do something good, well, I don't see color with you, Jermaine. I don't see color. There's always something that they do to try to discredit the Blackness that comes along with it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it makes our greatness a lot more palatable or what, but it's just a trope that when I heard it, it was par for the course. The only ballsy things that I thought was about it, he did it on a stage in front of all these Black people. I'm thinking, whoa, you are the confident man. But
he couldn't read the room.
Trope, it plays as old as time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What were you saying, Joy?
Said he couldn't read the room. Like he's a one-trick pony. He's got a set of things he's gonna say. He's used to showing up and people clapping for whatever spews out of his mouth. And he showed up and he played the same trick. And this group wasn't having it because this ain't the place for that. He was completely inappropriate. That same thing that he said, if he did it at another one of his personal rallies, they'd have cheered. Yeah. And that's another thing that upset him was the silence of the audience, if not outright laughing at him.
Oh, and another scoop, the clapping, guess who was doing that? the blacks for Trump. And guess who the blacks for Trump were? White people. No, I'm not kidding you. They were in the audience, and I have so much scoop because I had a friend that was there. He said it was a bunch of white people in Blacks for Trump t-shirts that were there. And he felt like they were kind of like sent to be there, to be in the room.
Of course they were.
So the little clapping that you did hear and the little cheers, it was from them.
I wonder who that was.
Well, and Harris Faulkner
brought some white Blacks for Trump people to the black journalist thing.
And Kanye.
I hear these words.
That happens all the time.
I wanted to call you, Tom, so bad, but I had to wait for the show.
So you were talking about reading the room. Looking at his hair, he can't even read the comb. All I'm saying is that you've got a guy, and you nailed it, Joy. He said, "What would I say if I was at the Heritage Foundation? What would I say if I was at the Southern Baptist Convention? What would I say if I was at a Waffle House in Tennessee?" And he just thought, sometimes when you're in an audience setting like that and the lights are on you, you can't really see what the audience looks like. It just kind of looks like a general kind of darkened sea of people. So in his head, there's a big crowd. It's a huge crowd, biggest crowd ever. I know you've never had a bigger crowd at the NABJ. They're here to see me, but I can't see you, but it's fine. You're black, I think. Except for my Blacks for Trump.
That makes that comment actually make more sense. And he was like, a lot of black people in here. Yeah, bro. Where are you? Where do you think you are, Mr. Trump, right now?
Right. You're not in the drive-thru at McDonald's, just for clarity.
That is wild. But there's a comment I skipped. I was holding it. I'm going to run it back since we were talking about the Blacks for Trump. Samuel came with this heater. All the black men going for Trump probably don't even have their name on the lease of the apartment they live in with their girlfriends or their name on the phone bill of the cell phone they use.
Wow.
They have been radio silent. They have.
Yeah, listen, there is a particular type, and you look at your Byron Donalds, you look at your Tim Scotts, you look at your Clarence Thomases, and I mean, in fairness to Tim Scott and his incredible vanishing fiance, we don't know if that's going to ever be consummated. But these people who Cameron, the guy from Kentucky who was trying to, that guy, these guys that are diehards, and I'm not saying this is a factor because there are lots of interracial marriages that, where politics don't turn into a thing. But it seems like the biggest people with these die-hard super Trump mentalities tend to be married to white women, especially if they perceived that there was some political advantage to being married to a white woman. Like Byron Donalds was married to a black woman. And then he hopped off of that, impregnated a white woman, and then married her. Clarence Thomas wasn't always married to Jenny. Daniel Cameron. Thank you, Anthony. So it's like this thing. If you want to get into these echelons, if you want to make bones for yourself, then you do this. And automatically, except for Ben Carson. Ben Carson is probably the biggest notable example, who is an apologist for Trump, who...
he actually came out after that NABJ interview fiasco and was like, those people were so mean to him and they should never have, it was wrong of them to treat him so hostilely, he came out, being Air Coon One.
I saw that tweet. I saw that tweet, and he kind of digged at Kamala in that tweet, saying something to the fact that, what time does the vice president get there? Oh, I'm sorry, she's not coming. And I'm like, yo,
if he hadn't, as what we covered earlier, Jermaine, because you'll know this name, Sheila Jackson Lee passed away, and Kamala was doing her eulogy, or at least going to Houston to be there, along with the Clintons, along with a lot of other major political figures, because she was a major political figure for 30, 40 years. Of course, they're going to pay their respects. NABJ could have gotten her in via satellite. They chose not to. We're not going to get back into that, but him particularly not knowing that and accusing her of just not being there shows how out of touch he is with the Black community. In addition to that,
looking at this picture, it looks like he's not out of touch with Trump's hand, which looks like it's manipulating him from inside.
Oh, no.
Say I'm the best. But the other thing about all those people that you named is I remember seeing the video recently of them all saying, most of my constituents are white. What about you? Yeah, most of my constituents are white too. As if that is a benefit. And what they don't realize they are saying with their whole mouth out in public is Black people didn't vote you in there. And because you don't represent Black ideas. You don't represent, not that we're a monolith, because we're not. Neither the three of us don't agree on most of the things, but the idea that you are representative of a marginalized voice isn't true when they're voting you in, so they can have specifically a tokenized figure to continue to represent their interests. That's what you are, and you're apparently proud of that fact, which aggravates me to no end.
Super proud.
Were any of you guys rubbed by the tone that the president of the NABJ had with her, with Vice President? Because something was circulating online that he was stating that she needed to be there.
Misogyny is everywhere. Remember, we had a Black president before we had a woman president.
Well, this is another problem. Yeah, but it was just something about the tone, the way I read it. Maybe I was projecting.
No,
I was like, it just seems a little bit confident and a little bit too sure of himself that she should be there. When you should realize that, everything is moving at rapid speed. She only got pushed to this level a little bit over a week ago. So things were filled up really, really, really quick. I really believe she had Sigma Gamma Rho's Boulé on her schedule before this happened. I really do. Nobody foresaw Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee passing away. So there was no way she was going to defer, to the NA, so it's like,
get over yourself.
It's your problem. Yeah.
He I think it was an important conference. She did go to the Zeta Phi Beta conference. She planned to have the Boulé, the Sigma Gamma Rho Boulé. Shout out to them in 2022, celebrating their centennial. But things move quickly in a political environment. That's not the first time that a politician had a planned appearance and something got in the way. And she did offer to make herself available so that she could screen in. But here's the other thing that people don't appreciate, and this was something that kind of got washed over. There are 300,000 members of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and all of them are voting age. And you talk about a ground game. You talk about, that is a machine and an apparatus that any political campaign would give their left arm for. And it's not just the AKAs. The Deltas are on board, the Zetas are on board, the Sigma Gamma Rhos are on board, members of the Black Greek letter fraternities are on board, and none of us
Black men, links,
nobody is endorsing, none of these D9 organizations is endorsing in violation of our 501c3 status. However, individuals from those organizations are aligned about, and that's 1 million plus people. In every major city, in all of the battleground states, they are there and they are ready, and they're pulling in their friends. It's not like, it's just a D9 party, Divine Nine, for those of you who are watching that might not know. This is Black folks figuring out that this is the shot. And if we do this and deliver the win, it's going to dramatically change the perception within the party. Everybody who's, people were talking about foundational Black, that's the new ADOS, that's the new Hotepi way of
what is I don't even want to know what foundational Black is.
Basically, it means if your ancestors were enslaved. That's basically what it is.
Okay, the new ADOS. I got you now.
It's the new ADOS. So
but
she's not ADOS because like Jamaica wasn't a part of the intercontinental slave trade.
Everybody west of Nigeria got took there same way.
I guess I'm ADOS. I'm gonna claim it.
Yeah, was it African descendants of slaves or American descendants of slaves?
Something like that.
Yeah,
I'm claiming it. It's mine. I'm one.
Yeah, I'm both, and I'm still not writing for that ideology. That's dumb as hell.
If I stumble over African American, I'm not going into ADOS. But I got a question for Joe, because we talked about the D9. We talked about we had a Black women for Kamala. There was a Black men for Kamala. There was a white women for Kamala. Then there was a white dudes for Kamala.
Yes.
And Joe, talk to me about that. Did you know anybody that attended that call?
Yeah, a few people. It was not as big as the other ones. It raised $4 million.
We all do have money.
I think the other three raised more, but it just shows how this is a caucus that's building. This feels like 2008. There's an excitement. Taylor and Beyonce haven't even really come in yet. When they do,
that's right.
So what was the reason for Elon doing what he did? I don't know that story. They said he yanked something. Elon did.
He offered 48. Are you talking about the donations that he?
No. He took down the white dudes for Kamala.
Oh yeah. He
banned it, and then they created another account, and then he unbanned it.
We'll never know.
He was having a fit.
Oh yeah, no, he was disgusted that his platform was being used to raise money for somebody, and he has a trans daughter, and he's talking about moving his headquarters. Now he's got SpaceX and Tesla here. He's talking about moving them from California to Texas because of that. Because to be clear, if you didn't know this about Elon Musk, this is something you should know about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a eugenicist. He is trying to impregnate as many white women as possible to pass on his genetic material.
Wow.
He's like Jim Jones in an electric car. Don't be confused. Do not be confused.
Nasty.
And also, if Tesla comes out with a powdered flavored beverage, pass. I'm just saying, this is a guy who's got serious problems. The best thing he said last week was, I'm not giving him $45 million a month. I love that. Not just like, but so similar that it might as well be a thing. And of course, Don Lemon is trying to sue Elon Musk. And there's lots of stuff happening about Musk. Musk, my God.
I know, when it stands alone, it's a whole new connotation.
Right, like musky.
Musky.
That sums it up. That's another thing that he might have in common with Trump, because we all know that there's a reason that his wife would not stand more than 2 feet close to him. It's interesting how many people have commented on that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I completely believe it. If only because he has so much spray tan on him, something in his pores has got to be clogged. And
when you eat that many cheeseburgers, it comes out of your skin.
Oh, come on. Seeping.
Not a
we have a new sponsor, guys. Somebody approached me the other day and asked if they could sponsor us. I'm going to send you, I'm going to put in the chat. I want you guys to put it up at the end of the show.
Okay.
All right.
Send down the Facebook chat. We'll absolutely do it. But we've talked a little bit about all of this. I think we've run the
happy stuff.
Say what?
Can we get to some happy stuff?
Yeah, well, we got a few more things. We wanted to talk about polling and about the VP pick. Do we still want to discuss that, or do we want to move into the Olympics?
Well, we can definitely. We briefly did talk about the polls. The thing about polls is that they're constantly shifting. She did say, the Harris campaign has said that they are going to announce her pick on Tuesday, which is one day before the deadline for certification of ballots in Ohio, most importantly. But there are a couple of other states that have early ballot deadlines. And so since they've got to have it sorted by the 7th, she's going to make the announcement on the 6th. Now, she is scheduled to make her announcement in Philadelphia. Not that that's a hint or anything, but I'm saying the writing is probably on the wall about who she's going to be selecting. It's possible.
It could be a bait and switch,
It could be. Bashir still looks great.
He does look like he belongs on a coin.
Yeah, North Carolina's governor has removed himself from consideration. The only other person that I think Bashir, I think, is a solid pick. I accept the conventional wisdom that it would probably be appealing and comforting to middle class or working class white men to have a white man on the ticket. I get it. And somebody from Kentucky, like Bashir, who has his gubernatorial powers relatively, almost completely neutered by his supermajority in the Senate and the House of Kentucky, of the Commonwealth. He doesn't have much to lose. But, that's definitely a possibility. I'm holding out hope that maybe it could still be Gretchen. But at this point,
Gretchen says she don't want it.
Yeah, right. And so she'll be a great advocate for her in Michigan.
Right. Now, there are some people saying that Shapiro has his own issues and his own problems. He comes with baggage, specifically around his own ethnic heritage and background, and his views on, not so much his views, the views people are ascribing to him.
Correct.
On Israel and Hamas. And I say it that way in particular. So there, especially with this recent assassination, there's a lot of things that could sway people one way or another. So some people are saying that it's good because it represents a lot of different voices. Some people are saying it's bad because it could be toned up to the very people that were calling for Joe to step down because of his lack of inability to stop Israel from what they've been doing. And so it may be, it could be that they're going there with the idea, but they're clearly doing more vetting than the Republicans have done. So they could do a last minute switch. It could be like the Bachelor. She just brings them all on stage, and which one gets the rose?
Well, and in addition to Shapiro's perceived allegiances to AIPAC, I think AIPAC more so than even just Israel in general, because AIPAC is very pro, obviously, for obvious reasons, very pro-Israel, and there are definitely Zionist elements. But her husband is Jewish as well. Yeah. And so, the question of if the Democrats were able to have the first Black president and the first female president and the first Jewish vice president with an eye on maybe that person ascending, you're talking about some pretty fundamental shifts in the electoral map. If everybody was embracing identity politics, and I'm not saying that they do, I'm not saying anybody's obligated to, but for Trump to say anybody who's Jewish who would vote for Kamala is crazy because she hates Jews. Yeah. I imagine Passover is real awkward at her house.
Right, that part. But he tried. Let's not forget. I'm just saying. Let's not forget that Biden said, "If you vote for Trump, you're not Black."
Yeah,
he did.
We don't like to bring that up. Well, I guess he's not running, so it's fodder. We can talk about it.
Right. Yeah. But I'm just saying, he may be repeating something he heard somebody say in behind closed doors that was not meant for mixed company, and he thought for some reason he remembered that and decided to say that. But I don't know that I don't think he paid any attention to Kamala Harris or her family or anything about her because she wasn't his opponent. And so he's grasping at straws and he's throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks. And so he says these things because he had no idea when he said that her husband was Jewish.
Senator Booker is pushing for Mark Kelly for the reason that he feels like Mark can be that Biden to Obama. Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, Anthony posted that question. This is Arizona, right?
Yeah.
The astronaut. I think kids don't care about astronauts.
He's a standing senator also.
And that would be a bigger problem. A governor doesn't have to step down. DeSantis didn't step down.
That's right.
But we can't lose him.
But Governor Hobbs just couldn't appoint a replacement until that election is filled so we can keep that seat. That's how it works, right? She just appointed a replacement, Governor Hobbs in Arizona?
She should be able to, but I think it's tricky if he were to lose and now he's not the senator. And it's just, listen, I don't think you solve the Joe Biden problem with another old looking guy. I know he's not nearly as old as Joe, but he looks old and he's not dynamic. And, we need a bench.
Yeah.
Mark Kelly is not going to be the next president that follows Kamala Harris. It's not happening. So, and we need a secure seat. Gallegos is in for the fight of his life against Kerry Lake. I don't know why that's true, but it just is. He's a little bit trailing Kerry Lake. And so we don't need any confusion. Let Mark spend his time in Arizona, bumping up Rubin and keeping it cool. I just don't see it. I think it's the only possible misstep. I think if you go with either of the two youngish white guys, and I would have thrown North Carolina in there as well, because even though he looks a bit older, he's still, at least Kamala's here in age. I think if you go with either of the white guys, you're probably on balance, super duper safe. Gretchen would be a swing for the fences, which I think you could build a powerful narrative around, but I respect that they don't want to try to build that narrative. But I think going with Mark Kelly is like exactly the wrong thing.
Okay.
In my opinion. I've been wrong before.
No, but it is because he's a senator, and that's so key.
Yeah.
A
Right.
governor doesn't kill you in Senate. A senator, one vote really matters.
Yeah.
So
Now-
you think is that an accurate statement? She's going to be in Philly on Tuesday, and they're announcing.
That's according to her schedule. I mean, it would just seem like I don't believe in playing games like that.
No, it's going to be Josh. It's going to be Shapiro. If that's the
I
case.
think they have decided, because from what I understand, it wasn't involving Shapiro as much as it was involving a staffer of Shapiro. A staffer of Shapiro's, I think, was accused of like sexual harassment or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So if it's not him, and we don't have any videos of him, shagging a Barca lounger, I think we're probably okay with Shapiro.
Not shagging a Barca lounger. So just out of curiosity, what would have been everybody on this panel? We'll just go around. I'm gonna start with Joe and go counterclockwise. Clockwise? Wow, Joy. What would have been your pick? Who would have been your pick for vice president?
I like the guy Walz from Minnesota. He invented the word weird. He started the weird trend.
Yeah.
That safe Joe Biden to Barack Obama guy.
Mm.
Very nice, very personable. Midwest, close to Wisconsin, locks in some of that Midwestern folksy conservative people. But I like Shapiro because no one knows him. He's only been governor for like a year.
Yeah.
He's young, he's vibrant, he's got that Gavin Newsom JFK, swag to him. Here's what I love. She can't go wrong. She could pick Mark Kelly. She could pick Bashir. She could pick Shapiro. She's going to win.
She's got a good set. Yeah.
Great spot. But I'm gonna say Walz from Minnesota.
Okay. Jermaine. What about you?
Shapiro, because he fits the optics that these young kids are looking for. He shores up I feel like he'll shore up the Electoral College out of Pennsylvania. I feel like he comes with that because I feel like she's still trailing just a little bit in Pennsylvania is what I'm reading. The Jewish demographic, I think he speaks to that. Some of the concerns that they may have, they might project him onto him. So they might see him as a bit of a salve and being counted and seen as a result of him being a part of the ticket. And we don't know him. And the more you don't know about someone, the better off they come across. Because I got to tell you, when he was bandied about, I was like, who is he again? Oh, the governor of Pennsylvania. And, therein lies my research. So, but they actually, it did. I was like, because he's just been a governor a year and he hadn't trended. There's been no scandal. He hadn't said anything that, got national attention. So, and then I found out that they've been longtime friends. So I was like, okay, that helps too.
Did not know
yeah.
that.
Everything I know about him is recent within the last 2 weeks. So I don't know anything about this man. And that bodes well for me. And I don't mind cross-referencing. And I was like, I don't know. Okay. So it helped me for some reason.
I'd rather you be a blank slate than start with a couch deficit,
Yeah.
Oh,
as much as I love Gavin Newsom, there is a lot to overlook with him whenever he runs. Because he's like, oh, you did that. Eesh, you did that. Oh, during the pandemic, you ate there. And oh, you did that. There's like so many things you have to just turn a blind eye to. But still, promote him as if he's the freshest thing since sliced bread. With Josh Shapiro, I don't have to because, when the authorities come to Jermaine, I don't know nothing. I would and I can stick with them. That's how I'm going to be. So, yeah.
I'm going to stick with the do no harm. Not bear ticket. Oh,
Harris Bear ticket. You know what? You do pick up Atlanta with the Harris Bear ticket. It might mean something different to them.
Well,
Here,
so I think just because I don't see any downside, I do see a potential downside in maybe some young voters who feel that Shapiro is not going to be sensitive to the concerns about Palestine. And I know, just in talking to younger voters, my daughter has cut off McDonald's, Disneyland, and Starbucks because of Palestinian positions. Now, my daughter is super principled, and when she walks the walk and talks the talk, but she will not go to Disneyland when I take my sons because of that. And
wow. That's good.
It's an important issue. It's like abortion for these Gen Z kids and these Gen Alpha kids. This is like their cross to, well, I don't want
this is their
this is a red line for them.
Their issue. Yeah.
What do you guys remember? Apartheid was the same way. I don't know. You guys
exactly.
aren't.
Exactly.
No one went to McDonald's during the Mandela.
Yeah. I didn't have those convictions at that age, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, she's 20. My daughter's 22. So.
Well, I did not have the. I remember being 22 and specifically having older Black women come and tell us that we should stop dancing to this Luke Campbell music because it was going to damage our community. We were like, whatever. And you see where we are because we didn't listen.
So that's why I like Bashir. And one of the reasons I like Bashir is that he came hard for JD Vance. And so, first of all, your vice president should not do any harm. That's number one. He's already beaten JD on that. Two, if there is something that he can bring to the ticket that shores up a deficiency, already by being male and white, he ticks off 2 of those boxes. But by coming from Appalachia, he can really kind of counter, because JD Vance may have grown up in Ohio, but then he became after he graduated.
Appalachia's most wanted. He's like that. Yeah.
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 Exactly. He's a bit of a poser, and Bashir can hit him in the teeth with that. Also, Bashir has nothing to lose. We're not going to get Kentucky's electoral votes probably, but with Mitch McConnell retiring in November, and there's going to have to be an election, and Bashir cannot appoint Mitch McConnell's replacement because of the circumstance in Kentucky. I think he brings a lot to the table, and I like that he has that Southern kind of a little bit of a Southern accent and that extra folksiness that I think carries. And since it won't be Gretchen, I would say that I would have chosen Gretchen if not for the political realities. But I think I would still choose Bashir over Shapiro, even though it looks like it's going to be Shapiro.
Okay. I know who I would like to see, even though I know that it's not going to happen. I would like to have seen Buttigieg on the ticket. Yeah. But I can understand why, sometimes you need generals in various places, and he is doing a bang-up job. I would like to see the administration, regardless of who's in there, spend more time reinforcing the infrastructure of the United States. We should not have freeways collapsing. We shouldn't have the vast swaths of cities that are just, deteriorated. I would like to see some local investment. That's a local thing. I get that. But I'd like to see an overall push towards building back America, which is where they were headed. I want to see that go. I think he's good where he is. I know that he's probably not going to be the pick, but in addition to the fact that he is openly gay, I think that would have been similar to Gretchen swinging for the fences. But I think that he would have done a good job, and more so than just being able to handle Vance in the debates. I think that he would have been able to handle the duties of vice president in the Senate. I think he would have been a great person to marshal the Senate the way they needed to be done. And I think he might be able to make some good, behind closed doors deals. Not saying that Bashir or Shapiro couldn't do the same thing, but with him, you lose him as a cabinet member, which is why I understand why it wouldn't be him, because I would hope that he retains that cabinet position going forward.
Yeah, I want Buttigieg for Secretary of State.
Yeah.
I want him. I want him to have as high a position as possible in this cabinet, and I think he would be superb. Obviously, he's all over. Wow. Obviously, he's all over infrastructure. I mean, he's transportation right now, so that's a big part of his responsibilities, and kudos to him. But he deserves to be able to use his gifts on the big stage and on the world stage. I think he'd be absolutely incredible. And to your point about that, you kind of put it up and down real fast, but whenever when we lived in Chicago, we'd drive through Indiana to get to Kentucky before we booted over to before we got over to Louisville. So
I routinely fly into Louisville to go to Eastern Indiana all the time. Yeah.
Right. So it's, I just think that I don't think you will go wrong with either of them. I think, to your point, Joe made a very good point. It would be very hard for her to pick a bad vice president. We do have vice presidents we have a plethora of vice presidents, to use a Three Amigos reference. We have a lot of good ones. And if Eric Swalwell wasn't from California, that would be another one that would possibly be somebody who kind of has the right sort of things. But you don't want two Californians, even outside of the electoral conversation.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm with Samuel Levon. I'm on the Harris Bear ticket. I'm on the Harris who the F ever ticket. Like, to Joe's point, I don't care who she picks because she has several good picks.
Right.
So
I'm with Harris and a Cheeto sculpture of Josh Shapiro.
Right.
I am. It's going to be exciting because this is going to be the next phase, right? So she got the anointing. That was 2 Sundays ago. So we're almost at 2 full weeks. The next big thing is her pick. Then she's got about 12 days before the convention. Yeah. And so it's very easy to see how this honeymoon could actually be extended all the way to the convention, because she's going to be barnstorming with the VP pick.
This is what you do in a relationship, right? Like, as soon as the honeymoon phase starts to fade out, you bring somebody new into the picture. That's it. You extend the honeymoon phase with a little extra newness. But I put up that quote that Samuel had about why are we concerned about age, and I wanted to take a look. Now, you have to factor in the idea that we didn't live as long, 100, even 50 years ago. But the average age of American presidents has been between 50 and 60 years old when they enter office. We didn't start getting people over 60 until Reagan, who first got in there when he was, He was 70 years old. 69 when he got in on 1981 and 77 when he left. Mind you, Joe was 70. Trump was 70 when he got in, and Joe was 78 when he got in. And so when we talk about these men being older, they are older by a decade than most other people, even going way back,
Right. And the intransigence of those people that are that old, they have one foot in a previous century. Can we contextualize that?
I mean, we all
a different century and a different millennium. Like, think about what that means. And he's talking about make America great again, because when he was 20 years old at Fordham, you were at Fordham, great institution, but I mean, come on. Things were very different. That's why grab them by the pee, and you can do whatever you want, and all of these sorts of Mad Men-esque style thinking.
You make a good point about that. Like, we have fallen so far so quickly when it comes to what we will accept at our highest office in the land. Like, you have this picture, I'm gonna put it up. Remember this? Remember Billy Beer?
Oh wow!
This was Jimmy Carter's brother, right? And it killed any opportunity for him to run for office again off of something his brother did. We've got a former president who admitted to random sexual assaults just because when you got money, they let you do it. All of this stuff on tape, and still voted for him. I didn't, but other people did. So that's what I said earlier. Like, all of a sudden we have this, you raise the rock and all the roaches come running out, like snow roaches come running out about how much they wanted a man who personifies all the things that we tell our children not to do. Don't be a bully. Don't pick on people that are smaller than you. Share. Be fair. Be a person of your word. All the things we teach our children to do, he literally does none of those things. And they said, that's who I want.
But it begs the question, were those ethics really cemented to begin with? Or was it all just posturing, and virtue signaling?
Bro, look, don't get me started.
That's not a question.
Because
that's self-answering. What do you mean? Was it all? Of course it was. They didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting you bring up gangster rap, because that was my entry into having a political mind. I don't know if you guys remember this activist back in the day, C. Dolores Tucker. Remember her?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God. She had this hard-on for gangster rap music. I mean, she would be behind every... Yes, she was just trying to get it taken down. And I don't know what it was about gangster rap music in Texas. I couldn't get enough of it. And
yeah, man, but the Ghetto Boys was it.
No! And my grandmother would always use her as a touchstone and repeat everything that she would hear this woman say just to make us turn off our radios or turn off from BET whenever Luke would play or any kind of gangster rap music would play. And that was my entryway, because I didn't know who she was. And then I just started, thinking about things in a more political spectrum and stuff like that. But that lady, anytime I hear about gangster rap, I always think about, I just couldn't stand her because she used to wear these turbans. Oh, and anytime I saw a woman in a turban, I would think about her. Well, it was taking away my joy.
Nick Cannon's auntie.
But I don't have a segue, so I'm going to jump right into it. I try to think of something witty. It was getting late. We already been on here like an hour and 37 minutes. So I want to cover the last thing that we have, and that is we love to end with a high note. We talked about a lot of heavy things, but let's talk about some Olympic highlights and viral moments. We're going to end with this, and I want to start off. I want to start off with my personal favorite. Wait, let me get this banner down off of here. You just have somebody that has a moment. I want to show you a video, then I'm gonna tell you who this is. Hang on.
I've been watching the Olympic rugby games, and they're like, yo, you been seeing that woman? Yes, I have. Every time she get that pass, she throws someone on their ass. Then they go, no, not that woman, this woman. Yo, what country is this? Is that the haka? Yo, she stopped. Wow. Don't you ever try to tackle me again. Do you know how hard you gotta hit the ground to land on your back and feet at the same time? They came for a gold medal. They're gonna leave in a wood box. I couldn't do it. I just know she sounds like her. You think you got her down and now you're scooped? Yo, what the fuck? She holding her like a dog. Her teammate had to pull her off. She was holding her hostage. This is how we need to settle wars. Just put all the queens and cleats. This is diabolical. You trying to tackle the great Khali and got rock bottom. Her hand slipped off and she put it back.
I love that.
She would kick my ass.
She picked that girl up after the woman.
Like a sack of potatoes.
That woman up after she had been taken down to the ground. Rugby is for real.
Yeah.
Not for the faint of heart. So if you want to know who she is, this is actually Portia Woodman Wycliffe. That's who she is. She's from New Zealand. She's part of the New Zealand Sevens rugby team. I think they're called the Black something.
All Blacks? The female All Blacks?
Yeah, they're like the Black Flowers or Black Flowers. But they're with the All Blacks. They're the female All Blacks. Okay. And she is a powerhouse. I mean, how can you deny it? I can't pick the groceries up at once without making several trips to the car anymore. She picked a whole person, a whole muscular person up that had me weighing in about 190.
She's dragging 3 muscular people and that damn ball.
She Marshawn Lynch them. You know what I'm saying?
Listen. Go on. What's her name? Portia? Come on, Portia.
Oh, Ferns. Thank you very much. It's the Black Ferns. Thank you, Shay. Hey, Shay. Good to see you.
So another Olympic moment that for me
they did do a haka before they started.
Is so choice is that Snoop is at the Olympics. And we can't finish an Olympic segment without talking about people. That was not the Last Supper.
Oh, God.
Open a book. Open a book. But Snoop, not only does Snoop have a presence at the Olympics and featured at the Olympics, this brother has a pin, and the pin is so on brand. I cannot imagine a better Olympic pin that is centered around a specific personality. Take a look at this. It is literally the Olympic ring in weed smoke. And it's like a very Crip adjacent, like Japanese smoking jacket looking
Yeah,
thing. Like,
you know what it's giving?
Like a Nero, yeah.
If you play Tekken, there's a character that has a jacket on similar to that, and he represents like the wushu dojo of Compton, right? And so I think he may have been channeling a little bit of that too. But you know, there's a long love affair between martial arts and the Black community. Like we trade Wu-Tang Clan is like our love baby in the middle.
Oh yeah, I mean, all those people with not Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in a karate movie. I mean, it's like,
he sure was.
Yeah, you know he wasn't kicking nothing. I wonder how much those Snoop pins. You know those Snoop pins are gonna get a fortune on eBay.
Yeah,
bro.
that was Coco Goff actually who was showing that she had one. She got from because they are collectibles, and I think he has his own pin, and I think Simone Biles has her own pin as well that she was sending. I'm not sure what her pin looks like because I haven't seen it, but what I have seen is the U.S. Olympic gymnast team just taking names left and right. Yeah. Hats off to Simone Biles for being at 27. I think she's one of the oldest competitors.
The team average is the oldest team. They're like great.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the oldest. It's the oldest team in American team history, and she now has the most Olympic golds and world golds than any other gymnast in history. She was only one behind when she came, and now she's grabbed I think 6. And this picture of her and the team, first of all, she is little. You are a jumping
in the same level,
magical woman, Simone Biles. She's like a nub.
She's tiny. Now, you may not be able to read it, but her tweet that she put out here says, lack of talent, lazy Olympic champions. And what that is referring to is Michaela Skinner, who was on the team before, had the nerve to come with her mouth talking about this team. She did say, with the exception of Simone Biles, this team is like lazy and they're not really, putting up their best and blah blah blah. She basically was trashing the whole team because she wasn't on it. Yeah. And
that's the one who had that
Michaela,
meme, right? Her.
Yeah, that was it.
That was her. Okay, that's what I thought. The one that had the meme.
Yeah. And she had her moment in the sun, but I mean, the sun set on you, chick. And so she tried to be a little, I guess she was trying to be a pundit or she was trying to be an athletic commentator, but she was on TikTok doing it. She's taken that video down since, but she called them like lazy, etc. And so that was Simone's defense of her team.
And she blocked Simone.
Oh wait, no, he's right. Michaela Maroney. There's 2 Michaelas. So Michaela Maroney.
Michaela Maroney is the one who's on the team now.
She's on the team now.
Michaela Skinner was the one who was talking trash. Michaela Skinner was the mean girl.
No, Michaela Maroney. We got 2 people in the chat saying Michaela Maroney is the one with the mean mug. Okay, and Michaela also came out. Michaela Maroney, who's on the team now, did come out with her own tweet talking about that's how you do it. I almost want to apologize just to redeem my first name. Wow. That's a hell of a clapback. I appreciate that. We will get that right on who is who.
Okay, so wait. So here's the thing. We were wrong because Michaela Maroney is the one with the smirk.
Okay.
But Michaela Skinner is the trash bag.
Yes.
Made that comment.
Yes. Michaela Skinner. So Michaela Skinner doesn't even have a cute face to her name. Don't nobody know who she was till she started talking about this. And Michaela Maroney is the one that we all fell in love with.
Michaela is like the Michaela Skinner is like the Tommy Lahren of U.S. Olympic gymnastics. Maroney is retired. Skinner is the.
But she did come out in support of this team. Yeah.
Yes, and there's another Michaela who.
I'm gonna need y'all to pick some different names.
I know.
It's too many Michaelas. This is what you did.
You
pumpkin spice latte drinking mommy. 1994.
It's like the new Britney. Remember when everybody was named Britney?
Oh my gosh. Leave Michaela alone.
By the time the Olympics get here in 2028, Snoop is going to be like the mascot.
He's already the mascot for the American team.
But
yeah, he's the new
he's
Muhammad Ali.
from Long Beach, but I guess LA adjacent. I mean, I just can't imagine they won't like even amplify him even more by the time the Olympics are here.
Oh, he's going to be the mayor, you know.
Yeah.
Can you imagine when and this was the cover art for the show. But can you imagine what AP history students are going to be looking at in 2053 in an era where an orange clown was almost elected twice and Snoop Dogg was the official cultural attaché to the Paris Olympics? Like, what are we doing? Where are we? Is this real life? I feel like this is just a bizarre time to be alive.
Oh, in the 1976 decathlete gold medalist is a woman now.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we're not too far from, you know, a systematic. He's like, oh shit, damn.
Look at how rapidly we have advanced. Where we think about Bruce Jenner and the Caitlyn Jenner, be like, oh yeah, that did happen, didn't it? Like,
it did.
In 2053, they're like, what?
Right.
So
But then
like, wow, that was
cyclical.
crazy.
It all happens all over again. Because if you notice, Sha'Carri is like the modern day FloJo.
she is.
Yes, and she had to check somebody
The looks
who was
and
trying to
everything.
talk some mess to her.
Yeah.
She was super giggly. It was almost a little bit too much, but she had to correct him on the pronunciation of her name, and then she gave a very cogent response about the responsibility that she feels about being an Olympic athlete and some of the people who had inspired her and chasing their records and all that sort of thing. So she has definitely rehabbed, no pun intended, her image from the trouble she had a few years ago. We have two more videos in here. One is, I mean, it kind of seems almost excessive to throw shade at Drake, but who cares?
Drake is dropping a shoe, and the comments are exactly how you think. Nobody wants them PDF file steppers to catch a Predator 7s, the colonizer 3s. Ain't nobody finna cop the P Jersey 69s. The throw in the towel 4s is crazy. Size 7's about to sell out. The Ovi Hose 3. The Nike collab sneaker drops at midnight tonight. Someone said the Kendrick shoe drops at 12:06. What color?
So one of the things that I heard, it wasn't on this, it was on a stitched video. They said, I don't know how much they're going to cost, but from what I hear, it'll be less than 18. I mean,
run out of the room.
Like this.
somebody said they called them the
I
A
should run out the
minor.
room. I just heard you, Joe.
Why are we like this?
This is why we don't have nice things.
Yeah, the internet won't let us have nice things. Honestly, the internet will not let us have nice things. We are at this is the longest show that is not where we were watching another thing and commenting on it.
This
We
has
tried
been
to
an
tell Joe
oversized
we were
show.
going to try to keep it short and cute, but yeah, in 2053, they will be studying the collapse of Drake, the smoke of Snoop,
Right.
and yeah,
Don't
every
forget
oh my
every
god,
soap opera ever known, a Dr. Seuss book, A Wrinkle in Time, and Harry Potter, all in one.
Listen.
And Game of Thrones.
Oh boy. And I haven't even watched the second season of Dem Dragons, but I hear the finale is too
Is that what they're
much.
calling it? Dem
Yes.
Dragon.
Them Dragons.
That's what we've played.
There's a whole Facebook group called Them Dragons.
Dem
y'all.
Dragons. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely not, Bradley. Egan. Absolutely
Oh,
not.
wow. That startled me.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's the black guy with the kid who's step black, Bradley.
Oh, okay.
All right. Are we
Don't forget our
Done?
sponsor. I texted y'all our new sponsor.
okay?
They,
I haven't gotten it
Joy,
yet.
I sent it to you.
You sent it to me over the Facebook chat?
Yeah, our Still Sharp and Still Chat. Yeah, I don't know how much money we're gonna get, but they're gonna stand behind us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Hey.
I have teeth this up big time. I hope it works.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I will say at 150, I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm not doing it. I'm gonna get this. Hang on, I'm getting this up for Jermaine.
Oh, we have something else?
You didn't see it?
I did see it. Hang on.
Oh yeah, no, I got that. I actually had it already.
Miracle Ear.
Yes.
Wait, let me give you a real quick commercial. Hey, you ever wanted to pretend that you got shot but didn't want to show up late for work the next day? Try Miracle Ear. All you need is a little silly putty and a maxi pad, and overnight it works a miracle, and you find out that you were never actually shot to begin with. Miracle Ear, now coming at a True Social near you.
And what's even better is that when you're shot in the ear, you can pretend like you can't hear a very horrible journalist from ABC News, even though she's sitting 3 feet away from you because of the ear. And the miracle is not working. But
I had the best laugh off of that.
Thank you,
I'm
Shay.
sad because I thought we had some money, but that's okay.
Yeah,
We're working on that.
I know. Now I gotta deliver.
So yeah, exactly. So now I will say, since I understand Jermaine was just trying to crack a joke, and he could have said, because I literally had pulled the graphic and put it into a thing, but I was like, oh, we've already talked about this at the top of the show, but you weren't doing it, Jermaine. So now I will say, with confidence, with all of my chest, I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Joy Stevens.
I'm Jermaine Taylor.
And I'm Joe Doyle. And this has been Steel Sharpens Steel.
We will see you next week, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Great comments.
Here we go.
Love you, Joy. Thank you.
See you.